A typical day for me at the museum usually involves tour guiding in a certain building. Over the years, I've tour guided in almost all of the buildings, greeting visitors, telling them about the history of the building, the history of the museum. That's usually about it. I would say the most challenging would have to be talking with people who assume they know more than they actually do, and having to correct them about some of their history knowledge. That's very challenging. You have to kind of do that in a certain respectful way. The best thing about Landis Valley is just educating the public about some of the things that I've learned over the years through my research and reading. I just love to pass down information about history in general. I always seen it as a responsibility for me to do that. And that's the best thing about Landis Valley, just coming here and relaxing and telling people what I've learned. Well, I've volunteered here for 30 years. And Landis Valley, for me, is a place where I can just step back in time, relax, put all of the stuff in modern day rat race behind me and just come and enjoy the atmosphere. Why I have been here 30 years, I really can't say. I mean, I just love history. I love being here. I love people. I love talking. I love education. I love history. And this is in my backyard, so it just makes sense for me to be here. Over the years, I've volunteered on the Associate Board of Directors. I've been on the board since 1994, I believe, or 95. Also, over the years, I have developed a few first-person interpretations that I have gone out and done presentations for. Notably, the Belschnickel is one, Conestoga wagon driver, charcoal maker, things like that. Volunteering at Landis Valley has benefited me a number of different ways. When I get out in the community and talk about my involvement here, it's amazing how many people really don't even know about Landis Valley. So, I get out and talk to people. I've also had many people ask about volunteering here themselves and recruiting others for helping out at Landis Valley in various ways. So it's been a pretty beneficial volunteer thing for me to do here. I would have to say what matters the most to me is just being able to do research in different history aspects. The other thing that it has done is Landis Valley has enabled me to get involved with other museums in the area. Just through research and knowing and learning some of the things that I have learned, I've been able to transfer that to other museums and volunteer in other places. And that's another aspect of me getting out in the community and doing things that I love in other venues. For me to get other people involved at Landis Valley, I often have to start by finding out what their interests are. And when I find someone who's remotely interested in history, I usually try to get them involved here, just knowing how much I enjoy being here and talking with people. When I find somebody who has those same aspects and loves that I do, I really try to encourage them to get here and spend some time on the weekends, special events, things like that. It's interesting how I got started here. In the spring of 1991, I was leafing through the local penny saver or merchandiser, as some people know it, and there was a little ad on the one page, and it said, "Seeking volunteer tour guides at Landis Valley Museum." I remember being here as a child and as a school kid, so I was somewhat familiar with what it was, and I looked at that and I thought, wow, that could be pretty interesting. So The volunteer coordinator at the time was Arlene Hess. So I contacted the museum, answered the ad, and came over and just started tour guiding in different buildings and learning about what the buildings were about. And I've been here ever since. Well, Landis Valley, I hope that visitors learn about Landis Valley because it's a pretty unique outdoor living history museum in that it interprets Pennsylvania German history. So my goal is to, first of all, tell them about the Pennsylvania Germans, how they got here, what they did when they were here, tell them about the different buildings that are here on the site, different representations. I hope that they just go away with a better knowledge of what the Pennsylvania Germans were all about and just the history of Lancaster County and Pennsylvania. I would say that the way I learned and was taught to tour guide here at Landis Valley was, yes, I was given a book. I was given a book with the history of all the buildings, which I have read through. I also read through the history of the Landis family themselves. I've done my own research, and in the beginning I was often placed in a building with a seasoned interpreter who I would learn from and kind of went from there. You do your own research, you find something that's interesting and you start reading about it and learning about the aspects of certain buildings, and that's really kind of how you learn over the years. I was actually interviewed a while back when I was volunteering at Hopewell Furnace, and the newspaper reporter asked why I do this, and I said, well, because I like it. And she said, well, why do you like it? Well, because I love history. Well, why do you love history? Every simple answer I get, she was digging deeper. And what I came to the realization is history for me is R&R. And that's not rest and relaxation. History is R&R to me, meaning respect and responsibility. Because I have respect for those in the past. And I feel I have a responsibility to educate people about what I have learned. So history to me is R&R. I think people really need to know about where they came from, what their ancestors went through, and how they personally got here. The trials and tribulations that their ancestors had to go through was just incredible. When you really delve into that, it's amazing that we are actually all here. When you really think about how they lived, what they had to do, how they worked, what they ate. You know, we take a lot for granted. And I think it's important for people to realize what the past was like and how we all got here. And that to me is the respectful part about being respectful for your ancestors.